fight. So it is tweaking it, but it is just making sure that they are more aggressive, able to get more points, and actually reading the lobby really well.
Especially in CSA, I kept describing them as a very good defensive team. We take a strong position, we defend until the very end. It's nice to see them be an aggressive team looking for breaches and third parties, and then being successful, of course, if they qualify, but pretty good. So I think the top 8 is in the cards for them.
We have our eye on them. And another team that we have our eye on, of course, is Falcons coming into today, who actually got dispatched off relatively quickly by good old GMX down towards the bottom of the tables here, Max, who are fighting back. Let's take a look at one of these moments here and see kind of how things went down.
GMX taking heads. Okay, they take down Alpha 7 and Falcons, 2 favorites who at the very start. Like, they're going to make it top 8 pretty easily. But no, GMX, like they took, was against none other than Alpha 7. Alpha 7, by the way, did not have a bad game here, because actually you had a really good rotate. They go from their 2-2 split, regroup on this compound. But GMX, they find one knock, maybe an angle of Alpha 7 was just not fully covered. And I tell you, the speed at which they committed was mind-boggling. They fully sit on the compound.
Amazingly here in the survival stage, but just slipping a little bit here in the final moments, Tempura.
Yeah, I think we thought they were going to win. You were like, yeah, the Fireflies, they're going to win. But I think at that point, at the point when they tried to actually do something, it was too late, because they had the low ground and that particular ridge.
When you stay in a compound on the edge for a little bit too long, you become very predictable. Teams knew that they were going to be exiting from that main building onto the southern eastern edge, so they just like, we hold angles against that. Five Bloods, you're not going to exit that compound whatsoever. So Five Bloods, again, a team that we know can be very strong, but here a little bit too slow and a bit too passive. I think if they were more punishing, maybe as you said, Niptra, maybe 30 seconds earlier, maybe they just control the entire circle and take home that.
Check out the map feed as well, which is live over on YouTube. And we can now head over to the casters for the grassy pastures. Erangel on the cards.
Thank you very much. I am Taylor Reflections Noble, ready for this game here to get started. It is going to be a scintillating sensation of a game, and I am pumped.
Wow, John, that was phenomenal Reflections. Yeah, you sound great. You sound proper Texan, I would have to say. By the way, you're in the same room as me. You start picking on me a little bit too much. I am bigger than you. I want you to throw you out.
Yeah, but I've got my name on my socks.
What? What kind of comeback? I'm going to take you out. No, don't worry. I got my name on my socks. Yeah,
they're going to be able to tell which bits of me.
There you go. That's what I'm thinking once I remove you from this room, man.
Hey, look, we're gonna put our differences aside for now,
each other,
because we have a communal hatred for Alpha 7. They're doing really poorly right now. Yeah, everybody in this room hates Alpha 7 right now. They are. I know. They are so bad at video games.
No, Alpha 7 are okay. Look, think about Alpha 7 is they can come back. They really can, but I can't dispute it. Like, they are on the struggle bus. Things are not going okay for them. No, man, I am sincerely starting to get worried. Now, we did notice yesterday, Alpha 7 did land Lapoca for the first time in PMWC. That's normally their go-to spot for the Americas region. Of course, here for PMWC, they've been going up towards Georgia Pole. That's been their location. So I wonder if now they're maybe starting to go back to their default spots that put them at PMWC to begin with the way Squash and all the co from Alpha 7. I believe they are, in fact, going to be going to their OG landing spot. So now we're going back to what worked during Americas, what has worked in seasons previously. I like this because Alpha 7 are in trouble. They've been trying new things. Now it's time to go back to what has worked, your bread and butter.
I mean, this could also be an artifact of the plane path as well, right? This plane path, very eastern leaning from Stalbert down to the middle of Sosnovka military base. It feels like a backup drop for Alpha 7. I wouldn't be too surprised over the next 2 matches to see them go back over there.
Oh my gosh.
This is a pretty nasty serve. Okay, let's kick things off with an eastern plane path and a hard southwest circle.
Wow.
This is also nasty because it's on the late end of the plane path. There's a hot drop on a vehicle there. I think that's in Intense Game, who have just lost a player. I believe they've gone down to Ora, if I'm not mistaken, over by Yasnaya on a vehicle hot drop there. Our only casualty so far. Maybe a little bit more as well. Power drop one out. Evo T tries to give him the runaround. He says, "Oh, I'm going to dodge this vehicle. They can't get through the rock." He's like, "Yeah, but I've got a gun, mate."
He's got a gun, and well, the gun wins over the night. Power, one of the top slaying teams when it comes to Erangel, at least historically here for our survival stage, elimination-wise, averaging, 7 or a little over 7. They start off with an elim early on. Good for them. Everybody's going to quickly try and rotate over. There's so much water in the current stage 1 that you have to get some real estate as much as you can on mainland. And I love that Falcons Kinnetrop are taking early priority. Let's not forget Kinnetrop, a team that is looking to work their way up in the top 8, fully eliminated early on in the initial fight against Jaegon Galacticus on Sandhawk map 1. So they are desperately needing a solid game 2 and onwards. But for Falcons, if they can get center zone, maybe even get on that shoreline, they could have a wonderful game here.
Wait and see. I mean, it is a pretty dramatic circle in terms of landmass, but what it doesn't do is necessarily a massive hurry up, because it's on the mainland. These rotational paths will be known, and generally teams will be comfortable getting into this area of the map, right? It's not too different from if it was just a little bit further north and it didn't have as much water on the south edge. The difficulty will start to come on through in towards stage 2, stage 3, after these first rotational plays have been made and moving on through that way. With 2 players going down so far on a hard east lane path, not necessarily unexpected, but the thing I'm looking at right now is Otta and Influence Rage and Yasnaya Polyana.
Yeah, they're very, very close to each other. That fight most likely going down. Again, an important one to say the least. For Otta, well, they are towards the top end of the standings. They naturally want to continue to separate themselves, not only for the money, but also for a guaranteed spot in the finals on our next stage. But for Influence Rage's perspective, I mean, truly at the moment, the crown jewel for Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break in the top 8 and represent Americas in the finals. For Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break in the top 8 and represent Americas in the finals. For Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break in the top 8 and
The Falcons can regroup. They are about 500 meters out for getting fully on the regroup. But Ralph goes down, and Regnum Kaya wastes no time.
That's right. Regnum Kaya is starting to get active. I believe it was a 2-2 split. It was Koa with Redux who were on the advanced position. And, well, now he's got Narvalo and Co starting to move through. And Wild is most likely going to be shot at relatively soon, you would have to think. From Falcons' perspective, losing one first, though. They were not wanting that, but that's kind of reminiscent of what they've been doing. Falcons love sending a scout player up ahead. Sometimes it hurts them, sometimes it works out well.
How have AXTMG made their way along this coastline? They've rotated through now 3 teams, and it seems like people are just like, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. You guys can just keep going. It's all chill. They dropped around Milta, sort of around that sort of area. They've gone through Nongshim, they've gone through Kinnetrop, now they've gone past Vision, and it seems like nobody wants a piece other than on that hot drop that we saw earlier where they lost Evo T.
That's right. Falcons start to move their way maybe towards the shoreline themselves, maybe Closer and closer to Kinnetrope. There's a lot of activity in one area. I mean, you got Intensity, who's relatively close, but all eyes on Vision. Now Red Force moving in, Kinnetrope, all within the same vicinity, and it is getting quite active. Redox moves up, and there's going to be a team off to his right that he's going to have to potentially deal with a little bit later on. For Alpha 7, I said it, they like to let Georgia pull, they go towards Lipovka. Now they've got to make the long rotate down, and they're choosing to take the northern side, which is also quite congested with the arena. R8, Influence Rage, Orta, who are all moving in, and Orta, luckily for them, are the tip of the spear. They're going to be the first team.
Right. I mean, you know the plane path was deep on that eastern side, sure, but the fact that there's so few teams coming through from Mansion, past school, past Pachinki, is going to change things up. I wonder if anyone's going to draw short and try and camp one of those bridges on the way, farm a couple of points. If I'm R8, I'm thinking about it. Looks like maybe they're going to hop out and slow Alpha 7 down. Rebel just about gets away with it for now. Will they unleash more, or are they going to have to try and turbo through the fight? He slows down. This could be really dangerous here. Takes one. The vehicle's smoking. He's low out in the open field here. This is really dangerous for Rebel. He needs to be really careful. We're zoomed in over his shoulder. You can see he's keeping it cool. He's keeping it calm. But you can imagine that our heart is pumping right now.
You know, a lot of times we joke about flipping the cars, bad drivers, so forth, but like, no, that could have been quite devastating. And now into the buggy we go, full health on the vehicle, and they'll continue to separate themselves from R8 and Co. Look, R8, they're not playing around today. They're going to take down Alpha 7 as soon as they can. And let's not forget, for Alpha 7,